it would be Tov Shem Mishem and Tov. V'yom Hivol Himovet. V'yom Hivol. His entire life can be summarized in Shem Tov. Everything he did brought his Shem Tov. The chesed he did in Jewish community in Shiraz. In Jewish community in Shiraz, everybody knows Mr. Yeganeh. Not because he was that wealthy, not because he was that learned, because he was known to accomplish stuff for people, Yechidim, that no one did. Pidyon Shivuim, so many of them. How many people these days can claim they have done Pidyon Shivuim? He did multiple. So many shidduchim, it wasn't for my grandfather. Would not ever happen. So many divorces, that it wasn't because of him putting good words, would never ever would happen. Multiple ma'asim, those that we heard. The niftar came to the dreams, told them, you have this trouble, go to Mr. Yeganeh. He can take care of it. Indeed, that's what happened. He was able to accomplish that. It's amazing. He was born Yatom. When he was born, he lost his father at the age of 3 months. So most of his life, he grew up as a Yatom. Beside putting what he went through as a child, he became a person that not only took care of his mom, he took care of his sisters, married sisters, with children. He took care of those families. He took care of every single need they had. Never claimed back they have to be makutov. Never. The way he treated people. There's no one that in Persian community, Shiraz community, that you talk to and doesn't have a good word to say about him. Every day he cheered up people. That was his thing. He cheered up people. I remember when he came to Yeshiva, he wasn't able to communicate in English, but he still made his effort to cheer people. That was his personality. He always had a joke. He always made people feel good. I don't think anybody ever remember him being sad. I don't think anybody can remember him when they talk to him, the positive emotion that they got from him. That was amazing. And didn't depend on the age. He could be talking to a 19-year-old, 8-year-old. It would be the same. It would be the same. I don't want to take too much time today. Because whatever I say, it wouldn't even touch a measure of what he did or who he was. On behalf of family, I want to thank the children in Cleveland who took care of my grandfather day in, day out. I want to thank their spouses, the children. Thank you very much for sharing them with us. Forever and ever, Vigori Hakar Atatov. Thank you so much. I want to thank my grandma for so many years. She took care of him, made sure he had the right diet. You know, my grandfather's parents and sibling weren't zochet to Orach Chaim, Arichud Yamim. He was. Baruch Hashem gave him Arichud Yamim, but a vehicle for that was my grandmother, taking care of him. Thank you so much. مامی سارا خیلی ممنون، خیلی ممنون که اینقدر سال ازشون نگهداری کردی. On behalf of my family, my father, my sister, my wife, I want to ask him, Mikhil, last 10 months, we may have not attended to you as we should have. I'm so sorry. If we weren't mechabed you like we should, I'm so sorry. Please, Momo Khalas. I want to ask him, please, when you go up, be Meled Yosher for entire family, for healthy life for my grandmother, for your children. Hashem should give them health, happiness. Really need it. Those grandchildren that need shidduchim, please daven for them. Yeah, Baba, let us Hashem Elokim Dimon Kopanim.
My father and I said goodbyes and separated 40 years and 3 days ago. And now again, Hashem should help that Tchias HaMesim should be soon and be reunited again. And as my mother, that should be well for Admiral Esrim Shanim, testifies, my father lived a very hard life, worked very, very hard, not just to maybe make a living, but to run and to help others. As my nephew said, he was a newborn when he lost his father. The father he loved that he always missed until his last days. But he always said Hashem was better, much better for him than hundreds and thousands of fathers. He always repeated that. He was very thankful to last day to Hashem for all the good that he did, even though he suffered a very difficult life. As a young child, he was taken advantage of, and he was hurt. But Hashem paid back all these people. And even as adult, he was cheated by others, he was taken advantage of, but miraculously all those who did wrong to him, they were punished. And Hashem kept on protecting him. He never took revenge of those people who harmed him, whether it was financially or emotionally. And just the opposite. He manifested the great need of HaKadosh Baruch Hu by continuing helping those very people that hurt him. There are many stories to that. He had, as my nephew pointed out, he had a Shem Tov and a very big Lev Tov. He had a Shem Tov that everybody, Jewish or not Jewish, loved him. If there was any enemies that I don't know of, you can count with one finger maybe, and that must have been just out of jealousy. Because of his beautiful and good nature and his Shem Tov, he gained respect in everyone's eyes, including people with high positions and also many Muslim clergies. His Lev Tov didn't have any bound. Men, women, adult, Jewish, not Jewish, if you would see a lady taxi driver was pulled over by the traffic for traffic violation, and she was begging the police officer that she's widow and she has to support and feed her orphans, and she was asking for mercy, my father would mix in many occasions like this. My father would mix in and to try save the lady from the ticket, and even offer her cash to help her to carry on with life. There are so many stories of like that. He used his connections to save people from jail sentences, drafts, even death sentences. In many occasions, he put his life at risk. He helped to save many broken marriages. Nothing was beneath his dignity. If someone approached and was collecting money for himself, charity, he would get up and go around collect for the person, and wouldn't stop there. He would go door to door and store to store to collect more to make a nice size amount. An eyewitness saw him slipping money in someone's pocket in the butcher shop and motioning to the butcher to take care of the person. Earlier in his life, he would do tahara for anybody was niftar, and or at least he would attend to the levaya. He never had any official leading positions in the community, but he did everything in Hasna Blechet in a quiet way. When he was still a young boy, he worked in evenings after school to earn some money to pay for some of his expenses, like buying a pair of shoes to cover his foot. Even though he was busy at night, in the evening, still he was one of the best in class. Eventually had to drop out of school at 6th grade because he couldn't afford it. Because he didn't have money, he could not afford to go to a Talmud Torah, something that he mourned all his life. In several occasions, walking with him to the shul, he would ask me, what did you learn in school? He had always a thirst to know. What did you learn in Torah classes? He loved very much his grandfather, who was a very well-respected Moel and Shochet in the city. But this grandfather passed away also when my father was still a very young boy. My father was very much Mokir Rabbanon. He respected Talmidei Chachamim all his life. He helped them as if he could, and when he could, and when the need came up. And they were very respectful of my father. When my father would visit Rosh Hashiva of Chaim Zatzal, my father would come in, Rosh Yeshiva would stand up for him. When my father went to be Menachem Avel the Rosh Yeshiva, Rav Chaim Stein, Rosh Yeshiva took him to the side and asked from my father bracha. He was very proud of being a Levi, and also having son-in-laws and grandchildren who were Kohanim. He was very happy when my youngest sister married an Israel, and he was happy that finally it was complete. He had Kohanim, Levim, and Israelim in his family. He loved his grandchildren and played with them like a young boy, and they loved him. He appreciated every single grandchild. When he was told that the granddaughter has a serious illness, he couldn't eat for days. And then afterwards, when we told him that it was a mistake, he started eating normal. When Rivka, my niece, and Menachem Mendel visited him, he was so happy about it. He talked for days and days about that visit, how they were nice. Not that he didn't get visitors, but that was special to him. He was very great in Hakarat Tov, and any single thing, any small thing was not too small for him. He would be appreciative and he would have Hakarat Tov for it. At this point, I would like to thank all the people who helped my father, especially at this past stage of life. What happened was a very sudden thing, but he was in Montefiore for a while. But Baruch Hashem, everything was going all right, but suddenly, that's what happened. First of all, we like to thank, of course, my mother and my brother and my sister-in-law who took care of my father after he had a stroke many years ago, and after that they have been always helping. My siblings, their spouses, children that gave up of their mothers at home, we're always thankful to them. The people at Montefiore, we're thankful to them, especially Mr. Menashe Weiss and Mr. Tzvi Weiss. The Bikur Cholim was very, very helpful always in every way. We'd like to thank the doctors, Dr. Lowenthal, that she treated my father like a father. When my father originally got sick, she came, and she's originally a year ago. Dr. Lowenthal came and sat down and cried like a daughter. We are very thankful especially to Dr. Harris. He was not really any kind of major doctor in this area, that my father's illness, but he took such an interest. It was unbelievable. He came to the house. He came to see and visit my father in nursing home many times, and always was in touch and asking about my father. Dr. Ziv, Dr. Saab, and at Hillcrest Hospital, we're thankful to the staff there, Dr. Mendel, Dr. Pollack, and Dr. Ari Weisen, Dr. Lothman, who monitored my father's situation in past week on a regular basis at home or at work. Very thankful to him. Very special thanks to people who helped to give my father exercises. We were trying to get my father back to on walking, and there were many nice people who helped us. It was Mika Amcha Israel. We are so appreciative of all these people. We have Shaul Bonstein and his sons. We have Moshe Chaim Solomon. We have Ezi Ali. And very special thanks to Rabbi Berkowitz that he came every single day for the past few months. I don't remember how long. And consistently, every single day he came. And in the last past week that my father was in the hospital, Rabbi Berkowitz continues coming and helping with his tefillos. Special thanks to Dr. Yossi Maskowitz. He was so helpful in giving instructions to us how to help our father to get back to walking. It was unbelievable. I'm so touched by him also. The Chevre Kadisha have been tremendous. Heshi Naiman, Tzvi Turners, and many others, Yol Kushner, that I don't know of them, but we are very thankful to all of you. I just have few words to my father. I don't know if he understands English at this point or not, so I'm going to say it in Farsi. آقا شما تاج سر ما همیشه بودیم هست. مایه افتخار ما همیشه بودیم، همه فامیل و همه جماعت. همیشه دنبال کار مردم، کمک به همگی. وجودتون مثل اسمتون برای همه عزیز بوده و خواهد بود. خواهش میکنم که همه ما رو، بچه رو و هر کسی دیگر رو ببخشید اگر کاری کردیم، بدی کردیم، کمبود بوده، بی احترامی بوده، همه چی. همه رو ببخشید برای زحمت هایی که کشیدید و الان هم زحمت بکشید. دعای خیرتون کمک همه باشه، مامان، بچه ها، نواتون و همگی. I finish off with a message for us here and those beyond. Please don't lose the sight of this great mitzvah of Kudav. At times, it's a very difficult mitzvah. As the Chazal say, it's one of the hardest mitzvahs. But we have to keep reminding ourselves. It's not any less than working Beis Hamikdash. And please do whatever you do, besimcha. That brings multiple nachas Ribbon Shalom. Okay, now I have a great loss.
Come to give the Kavod Achron, Aziz Yeganeh. I did not have the schus to know the Beshala, his kufa in his lifetime in Iran. Even when he came here, I met him a few times only. But a hesped on the life of the Mashallah, that we can't say. But we could say, you see a tree, and you want to see if the tree is strong, if the tree is healthy. You can judge it by the peiros. If the fruit of a tree you can see is gesund, and it's healthy, and it's rich, you know that the tree is gesund, the tree is stark. If the peiros are not, then you have to know what's in the tree. We were zeicher to see the peiros of this Elon, of this tree, the peiros, the children, the grandchildren, the doris, these children that we know here, the Brachman, the Lex family, the Joseph family, the other children of the family, Brachman's brother. We saw the peiros, we saw the children of this tree. The peiros are in Noyam. Wonderful, beautiful peiros. B'nai Torah, Midas Toivus, all of them, everyone, Kulam Ahuvim. There's a Ran that writes one place in the Droshes. When the Avos went to look for a shidduch, when Avram went to look for a shidduch for Yitzchak, he sent him to his mishpacha, he sent him to his family. His family were over there with Zorah. They were not such big tzaddikim. The Ran writes the reason why he sent him to his family is because the midas of Avram's family were always getzeichel. In midos, he said, the mishpacha of Avram, Sul and Lavan, they were machnas orchem. No one else would have done such a thing. Seichel, people can make mistakes. They can be very the Zorah. But the Ran writes that midas go over by Yerusha. He says it's in the DNA, in the blood. You have to look at the Ran. A person who is a hot-tempered person, his children are going to have that in their blood. A person who is b'teva, edelkeit, and midas toivus, it's going to go over to the children. It's in the mamish, in the blood. And the Avos knew that they'll take a Rivka out of such a house, will be mechanacher. But the DNA, the blood, the midas toivus, that was mishpachas beis Avram. In B'Sholah's house is a metzias of an ilan of midas toivus, a edelkeit, a dinus hanefesh. This is the metzias from Achman and all of the children and the whole mishpacha. That's this type of an Elon. Pasuk says, about the Rebbeinu Shalom says of Avram Avinu, it says, V'Hashem Omar Mechatz Ani Avram. Is it shaykh that I shouldn't tell Avram something? Ashani Oiseh, what I'm going to do in this world. V'Avram Ho Yiyeh L'Goy Godel. Avram's going to be a Goy Godel V'Otzim. V'Nivuchu B'Kol Haaretz. Avram's going to be a Gewaltige Elon. Why? So the Pasuk says, Ki Yedativ, L'man Asher Yitzav Es Bonav Es Beis Rachov. So Rashi says, Ki Yedativ means it's a Lashon Chiba. The Rebbeinu says, I love him. I love Avram. Why do I love Avram? Because he's the man Asher Yitzav Es Bonav Es Beis Rachov. He gave over at Tzavor. Avram is going to give over to his children and his mishpacha. What's he going to tell them? Rishon was Derech Hashem. The Derech Hashem is the Dolach, the Bedroch of the Midas of the Rebbeinu Shalom. Last it's Doku and Mishpat. To do Chesed. Mishpat, Ehrlichkeit. Be honest. This is what Avram is going to give his children. That's why the Rebbeinu Shalom loved them. And because of that, he's going to become a Goy God. What we saw from this Elon, from Mishala is this Midah of a Soy Stoko, Mishpat, Ehrlichkeit. Tzedakah Chesed. So if you see this in the pairs, this is what he must have had in his life. And it went over to Mamish, to his home mishpacha. And when you think about it, it was nefesh that he had to send away Abraham to come to the yeshiva. Boch, I think, told me he was 17 when he sent them away from Iran. To come to learn and come to be in America. Nish Gecholim, he should produce Azam in mishpacha from B'nai Torah. He was not by his chasana. To send away a child with such Meshirus Nefesh, this is the payers, this is what they have. About later mamish, kinder and eneklach, doiris from Torah and Yerushalayim and Midas Toivus. And there's another thing that we have to learn from them. The mitzvah of keep it up. Mamish, Rachman was Mishamish's father, how the sisters would took care of the father. Mamish ben Meshirus Nefesh. Talimud and keep it avein. I said it publicly in the summer. Rachman told me many times there's something we have to learn from him. In Iran, if a father asks a child to pass something to him, you don't just hand it to him with your hand. He handed it with 2 hands. There's a derech eretz. There's a harocha of a child to a parents. This we're missing. In America, we don't know from this type of midas, this type of anhoga. And when people are machanach children in that mitzvah kibbutz, these are the parents. This is what you see. There's a Messiah, there's a Hemshel, there's a Tata, there's a father, there's a Zayda. And then this is the parents that are going to come out of it. And such Messiah's nefesh to take care. There's a schus. I said it over there, Rabbi Leib said, V'achas hayomim, Klal Yisrael needs a schus of kibbutz avein. Esav, what's, we're holding an end of Golos Edom. What's Esav's schus? Esav's schus is one mitzvah, kibbutz avein. And he said in our Doris, this is what we need, mamish, to go on kegen Esav. This mishpocha is mamish, ois getzeichen. Mamish, it's steinis. In this mitzvah of kibbutz av. You don't lose the mitzvah of kibbutz av. You lose the mitzvah of machila or mashkeo to take care of him physically. But the mitzvah bleibt. Everything that the children and Einiklach will do will go mamish for his chus. That's the kibbutz av that he needs now. Just be Messiah with the pasuk and Kehelis is Toiv Shem Mishem and Toiv. Yemamavos Memi Volda. Hashem Toiv. A good name. Somebody who has a good name is better than Shemin. All the good to Shemin in the world. And the day of the Ptira, that's better than the Yom Yivoldoi. So the Medrash says, when a person is born, everybody's happy when somebody's born. When people are passed away, people are boichim. And the Medrash says, that's not the way it should be. It's not the emes. When a person's born, how could you be happy? We don't know. We don't know what's going to be in Yodim. We don't know what's going to be with the person's life. In Tzaddik in Rosh, when a person's born, no one knows what the life is going to bring. Meis, when a person is nifter, the Medrash says, a person that's nifter with a good name, a person that produced a mishpacha, to go mit Toshes Lema, Kinder and Einiklach Deures. Mamish, he's nifter with a Shem Toiv. Rachman mentioned he had a gewaltige Shem Toiv, which we didn't see that what happened in Iran. Aber Mensch with a gewaltige Shem Toiv. He's nifter with Shem Toiv. Go b'shalom. Hashem should give take that the children and Einiklach and Mishpacha, his wife, like his not to say. Shmamila Shoyta, they should have a Riches Yomim, Shonim, Gesundte Yoren. But they should be able to be mamshech in this hanhoge of midas toivus, edelkeit, and adinas hanefesh. And they should be millet choicer for them. Adbi is girl tzedek v'meira mochas and l'kindima me'al koponim v'noi ma'arom.
But Bizark, I never really got a chance to really speak to you because of the language barrier and to tell you how much you really mean to me. I think now though you'll be able to understand. The last few years that you came from Iran was such a precious present to our family, even though we couldn't speak your language. But to just see you, the way that you handled with people, how happy you were, how you always saw the positive, how you were always excited to see us, how you always complimented us and said how much you meant to us, how much we meant to you. My mother told me many stories of how in Iran, how you had the means to help people and how you helped them. And unfortunately, you're nifter in a place where nobody knows about all the things you have done, all the many things that you have done. May in that schos, that nobody here could be maspid you in the right way, and nobody really knows what you have done, in this pure schos, in pure chesed shel emes. May you please go up to Shemayim and go to Hashem, and please ask for Rachmanis for all the people that put so much effort into you. Your son, my uncle, Reb Rachamim, how he headed the family, always took responsibility and always made sure, gave up everything to make sure that everything should be good for you. You should always be comfortable. He built up your house. He bought a house for you, built it up, spent many days, months to make the house for you. How he tried to help you to learn how to walk again after last year, after you got very sick. And how much you took off from his learning and from his family because of how precious you are to us. How his wife supported him and his family supported him to be able to do this. How my aunt, Chol Nasrin, she gave up everything, her Shabbos, her Yom Tif, her family gave up that she should be able to go to the nursing home by herself with you. How she always made sure to watch, to be a nurse for you, to be a doctor for you, to watch the monitors, to make sure all the nurses treated you with the right kavod. And my mother, how much she gave up of her house, of her time, how she helped with my grandmother, how she helped with your wife, and she makes sure she's always very comfortable, and how she always made time for you and cared for you. Please go to Hashem and ask that everything that you worked on in your whole life, your whole family, that you worked so hard, that they should be in the right derech. Please go to Hashem and ask that we should have tremendous nachas from them, that your children should have tremendous nachas from them. And may you always ask and beg of Hashem for their welfare. Please be Michael me, Michael us, if we did anything to you. On you it could be said, Hansha Chubam Hamidaram Ta Tanadari. All the good midos that could be had, you have. Bila Maves Netzach Umacha Hashem Elokim Dima Me'akol Panim B'no Amen.
I got to know my grandfather the last few years. I think it was a Pashtan. He was a simple Arlach Yid.
He's Mekayim the Pasuk Tom Matiyam Hashem Alekacha. But he had the godless of Pashtos. Whenever he was by us and he was davening, he was learning his farm, it was impossible. It was impossible to get him. It was impossible to get him to turn away, to move his head, to look at you, to speak to him. He was by us for a few years. He was back and forth. Whenever he was by us, he slept on the couch. I never ever heard him complain. He wasn't a Megushim person. He just slept on the couch with a pillow and blanket. I remember my father was telling me stories of when I was younger in Iran, and there were different cases where there's mominous shaylas, and there's once a time that in the bank that there's a huge amount of money that was by mistake transferred over to him, and he went with midas ames and yashros, and he went and gave it back, and it made a huge kiddush Hashem. I never ever heard him complaining. Even these years, he was stuck. It was very hard for him to move around, and it was very hard for him to be more dependent on people. And he always slept and sleeping on the couch and all these other things. That things were very schwer. Things weren't the way a person would want them to be. I never heard him complain. I heard once Rabbi Muller said that there's a safe. That even though there's different people mentioned in the Torah, they have the schos that their name is mentioned in the Torah. But in Shemayim there's a sefer Zecharinos. And the Arlech Yidden who lived with Mesiris Nefesh to do the will of Hashem, their names are written in the Sefer, cherished by Hashem forever and ever. I know your name will be in that Sefer, O Yid who lived with Mesiris Nefesh, with Mechanech his children, with Emes and Yashros, with Yerushalayim, who lived a life of suffering, like was mentioned, was Nisyasim, who was orphaned at a very young age, when he was a baby. Whenever we met him, he was always besimcha, no matter what the matzah was. Even in the last year we went to visit, we went to visit in the home. There's always such a simcha, even though it was such a hard kufa, it was stuck, and I want to ask Mechila from all the children, the Einiklach. If we ever weren't mechaberu properly, we ever didn't serve you properly. And also I want to thank and mention the children in Cleveland. The Mesiris Nefesh of never ever leaving his side throughout the day. Shabbos and Yontif. Getting up 5 o'clock in the morning, pleasure to be there doing the exercises. Epitomizing the pasuk, Bani Chabra V'Aved Adayna. Even though things are always happening, by my aunts also things are always happening at home and coming Shabbosim or the whole afternoon straight from work. I went a few times visit. My aunts were there. Everything, gave up everything, Pasha, to be there, be mechab with their father, and take care of everything, all of his needs. Besimcha, with a tremendous simcha. It was unbelievable. It was unbelievable. The Mr. Snappers, the people that knew what was going on in the background, they knew what was going on at home, and still they were there. Besimcha.